Welcome to day 2 with Cadbury getting some under saddle training. So the purpose is to try to help him get started under saddle and be ready to ride. And it's Joe that's helping me with Cadbury. So Joe is from Harmonia Equestrian and he's done a lot of Mustang starting as well as restarting bronc horses. So horses literally from the rodeo that were trained to buck people off. He's been successful in being able to restart them. So he's got a lot of experience, but also I love that he uses a really calm approach. He offers positive reinforcement and he knows the harmony horsemanship exercises for calm connection and knows the importance of keeping a horse in a thinking frame of mind. So I'm pretty excited to keep watching what he's doing, and I'm going to show you some of the highlights from day 2 of things that he was working on, starting with a little bit of a recap of just being able to move around him and being able to touch him. So we noticed that Cadbury had some spots where he was kind of like, no thank you. On the right side, he's pretty good. And then when you come around to the left side, Cadbury would do a lot of blocking and not wanting us on that left side, which I do know from taming him and gentling him that the left side has been his harder side. Like his first touches, he preferred that those were on his right side. So who knows, it could be all sorts of things. And I think people can really go down that rabbit hole of, what happened to my horse. It could be that in the chutes for when they round up the Mustangs, they do the branding on the left side on their neck, as well as pulling the coggins and everything like that. So it could be related to that, or maybe that's just how he was, or who knows, maybe out in the wild there was a mountain lion that tried to take him on the left side. Who knows? Could be all sorts of things. Or it could just be that he was more exposed to things on the right side of his body. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's trauma related, but you can definitely see how he had a big flight response to his left side of his body versus his right side. Joe could go right in there and rub him with the stick down his legs and there was no problem. So here you can see he's starting to make some touches on that left side, on that left leg. Cadbury's still being guided, so Joe's doing small little pieces of rubbing and touching and going back to spots where Cadbury's comfortable and then slowly advancing down his body a little bit more and just building up his confidence, doing that approach and retreat method, which is how horses build confidence naturally. If you put out something in the ring that horses are scared of, like let's say you put a funny looking ball or stuffed toy, they'll usually go a little closer, inspect it, and then they'll leave, and then they'll go a little closer, inspect it, leave, even sniff it and leave and come back to it before they get really confident. So it's applying that approach to their body. And then there you can see he gets to a nice response where he can get Cadbury to lift his leg politely, no kicking or anything like that. And one of the things I love about the way Joe is working with him is that he's not letting his emotions get involved. So like see when Cadbury's like, and he kind of did that kick there where Cadbury's like, no, I'm going to kick. Joe doesn't spank him or punish him or raise any emotion to the whole situation. He just moves holds the stick there and then waits for Cadbury to have a soft response and then leaves it. And then here's a little bit of a look of starting to get into that position for those bends. So asking him to one rein bend and be on that side. So this is his left side, his harder side. And he just kind of waits for him to have those moments. He has that really calm posture, really chill posture. Cadbury's like, no, I couldn't possibly relax on this left side. And Joe's just like, yeah, wait for you, buddy. Like, no worries here. Like, we're not in a huge rush. Even though the intent of bringing Cadbury down here, or I guess part of the intent I could say, is that Joe is signed up to do a Colt start competition next year in Iowa, where they only have 4 hours to start a horse. However, it's not going to be a Mustang that's got super strong flight instincts. It's going to be a horse that's already halter broke. I believe they're quarter horses. So they've definitely got a much more they're more of a domestic horse. They don't have all of those flight tendencies that you've got to overcome. And it's legit fears within Cadbury because he was a wild horse and there were predators that could attack him and eat him. So it is fair that he's guarded with certain parts of his body. Interesting that it's more on the left than the right, but usually more triggered by the belly as well as the hind end. So the belly can be where a predator grabs and holds on and bites them. It's where the vital organs are, as well as losing the back end, the hind legs is that's their flight response. That's their ability to get away. So Joe spends some time brushing him, even though I brushed him before getting him in for Joe, he spends times brushing on that girth area before getting to this point of using the rope. And I'm really skipping along a whole bunch of the segments here. He spends a lot of time on a lot of these pieces, but I want to show some highlights for you so you can see what he does. Even here, like, he's got the rope around the girth while allowing him time to just eat hay and just chill and hang out, trying to build up those positive associations of Cadbury not being worried about these things. And there's more pieces as well. So if you want to see all of the steps and how he works through them, especially when Cadbury has those strong moments, then definitely take a look at the link in the description once it's available. Once the videos are uploaded, I'll share where that is, where you can watch all of the session. So here's just a little bit to show you how things don't always go according to plan, where he's got the rope around the belly, but Cadbury pulled free and then it kind of slipped back into that more sensitive area. But he sticks with it, helps him, and then gets to this place where he's got the rope around his belly and able to get him trotting nicely in both directions. And he's purposely putting a fair bit of pressure on that rope to try to get Cadbury ready for when a saddle goes on him, to have that girth pressure not be so terrifying for him. And by using the rope, there's the ability for it to slide, meaning like to go slack or to be tight. So he has a bit more control of that situation to help him get his confidence. But it's definitely something that Cadbury struggles with. And so he's taking the time to work with him on that. You can see he's repositioning, doing all sorts of things to help build up Cadbury's confidence, and then moving him forward, both right and left sides, sometimes cueing him more firmly, like bigger movements, and sometimes super softly. And it depends on if he's trying to achieve getting Cadbury not so upset if things accidentally get a little bit bigger, because you don't want to be on a horse's back for the first time and everything's been super soft and flowy, and then all of a sudden you accidentally bump or kick, or some leaf falls on them, or who knows, you lose your balance, and you don't want it all to go to heck in a handbasket just because you accidentally did something not so perfect. You want to kind of help them understand that sometimes I might get a little bit bigger movements with you, but I'm not actually ever trying to hurt you. Sometimes he gives those cookies, lots of rest breaks, gathers his rope, and you can see there's never like any big, like there's no big punishment or anything. Joe's just picking up the rope and then he throws it. And then I like how Cadbury just checks in again. So there's no big issue there. It's just kind of helping Cadbury know that the rope can move, it can switch sides. All of these pieces help Cadbury start to get more confident about what's happening. But there's a lot of struggles in here. So it took a long time, a lot of patience with getting his confidence over this rope at his side before we could get to a place where we could move forward to the next step. And you can see how like Cadbury jumps a little bit, picking it up on the left, and he's kind of moving it and pulling on it, gently going up. You can see he's using positive reinforcement. So Cadbury gets a cookie for standing there while he's pulling on that rope, and takes off the rope calmly while he's there. And really good that Cadbury's not overreacting. So he's just sliding that rope off. So Cadbury's getting used to all of that rope just kind of flopping around on him, which is great because that's going to be what happens when the leg goes over him. So it's all part of that whole process. And then moving into that saddle pad work, which he's been doing really well at. That's something that he tolerates really nicely, going both up on both sides, gets the little saddle out to be prepared to do some work with him that way. Overall, things have been going really good with Cadbury, and the training exercises that Joe is putting him through are geared towards riding behaviors. And if we wanted to, let's say, focus on teaching him liberty tasks, or to do tricks and lay down, or even to drive a carriage, those would be different things we could do. And there's no real right or wrong in terms of what you do with a horse after you've done the most basics and the foundational work of being able to groom him all over and lead him around and pick out his hooves. All of those real foundational pieces of just making sure that he's comfortable with us in his space and being able to do things with him. Then it's really up to you if you want to start preparing your horse for riding, or preparing your horse for tricks, or preparing your horse to do driving. It doesn't really matter, but it's more about figuring out, helping your horse learn how to learn and be okay with being in this domestic world, and how we can interact with each other, and learning different languages together, learning that we can be in different positions, learning that they can solve different puzzles. And it just kind of opens the doors to having those conversations with our horses and being able to do more with them. So for me, I was putting forward, like, let's get Cadbury riding. I'd love to take him home and be able to continue his ridden journey, whatever that may be. I've got no real set plans for Cadbury in the sense of, is he going to be a jumping horse? Is he going to do Western or obstacles? I have nothing kind of set for him. It's more just about exploring what is he naturally good at, what's his challenges. And as we figure those things out, he might have some struggles as he's learning, but that doesn't really give the full picture. Sometimes horses take a little longer in different sections of their training. And as long as we slow down and we help them figure out the pieces, they can still be superstars. So for example, if I was teaching Cadbury how to jump, he might really struggle in the beginning and hit a lot of jumps. But if I take my time and I teach him how to do that, then he can figure that out and excel. So I'm excited to see what Cadbury will be like continuing his journey. But right now we're focusing on the riding journey. Now this part, I am so impressed with Joe and his athleticism. The fact that he can jump up onto Cadbury, he can kind of get his legs wiggling around on there, not lose his balance and like tip over Cadbury on the other side. I'm like, this is very impressive because I don't know that I would have the agility to do that. When I'm starting horses myself, I definitely do things similarly, and that I will work from both sides and I'll put my weight on, usually at the mounting block though, and wiggle my legs and stuff like that. But I find it super impressive that he's able to do this just from the ground, that he can just hop up and use his strength to pull himself up. And I know there's like other trainers that can do this as well, but it's not been one of those things that I've had success with. So instead I use the mounting block, but it's great that he's able to start working with that. And you can see Cadbury got a little upset there. He's like, wait, what are you doing? Are you being a predator trying to jump on my back? And then I like how Joe kind of slows down and then kind of goes right back to it. And essentially he's trying to show Cadbury that he is a release and a reward. Like there's nothing bad happening with Joe on your back. Like you don't need to run away. Like let's just accept Joe being up there. And so that's going really, really well. He gets his little cookie afterwards for staying still. And this is one of those tricky things of figuring out how much you can push, how much you can try. And this is pretty impressive. He kind of just goes right over Cadbury and starts to teach him that the human can be there. He surprises him getting his little cookie there. And of course, now that Joe is starting to get on his back a bit more, he's put his helmet on, which I love that he's putting safety first, because we never know what's going to happen. Even if you're doing incredible training, horses can trip, horses can fall. Horses can get startled by something that's out of your control. You never know if there's going to be some vulture or something that just flies out of the bushes, or a turkey or who knows what, and spooks the horse in the wrong moment. You don't really know what could happen. I actually just heard of a story the other day of a trainer was working with a horse, and somehow when the horse was backing up, the way it tucked its bum, it was able to step on its own tail as it was backing up, which caused it to stumble and like fall and flip over. And somehow the trainer broke their I think it was their shoulder blade in that instance, and then had some serious damage afterwards. Like they were really hurt afterwards, and that was just an innocent mistake of the horse getting caught on their own tail and falling. So wearing a helmet is definitely a super smart thing to do, and I'm glad that Joe does that. And I'm glad that he's doing all of these pieces where he's getting on Cadbury and he's really rubbing him around, making sure that he's okay with him in different postures, up tall, lots of rubbing. And Cadbury, you can see he's processing. Like you can see his ears are to the side and he's really thinking and concentrating as to what's going on. And Joe is just really kind of rubbing around on him, being like, yeah, like I can move and I'm here and I am present. So he's not trying to sit so still that Cadbury becomes like a little statue and thinks that the human won't move. He's actively moving around and is going to get another little cookie there. So you get to see lots of exciting things happening. And now fast forward, this is now putting on the saddle, which brings us into the next exciting piece. And I've sped up this footage just to kind of show you, like this is ×8 speed. You can see how much time he spent with just doing that slowly and carefully. And on his other session from the previous day, he had struggled a lot with his girth area and feeling that girth. And so this is with the same saddle, the one that's, we call it my beater saddle because it's nothing fancy, and it's basically kind of like a bareback pad with some stirrups. The pommel is not even super secure on it. It's been well worn, but it is a treeless saddle, and so we know that it's not going to be pinching Cadbury or anything like that. But the idea is for him to get comfortable with that girth and just to have some confidence with that. And so what I love to see here is a bit of a big change compared to day one, when he really was not having a lot of confidence about that girth area. And then now day two, we're seeing a lot more confidence getting to this point of being able to put the saddle on his back, and he does some trotting and things are going really well. He didn't have any major like bronching sessions like he did on day one, when he was just really overwhelmed when he felt that girth. He panicked a fair bit. And so this is super promising, seeing him starting to be able to move in both directions with that girth. Now this is a super light saddle, so when you guys get to his day 3 footage where he has a much heavier saddle on his back, you're going to see there's some more big reactions in there. But it's really nice to see this progress here from day 1 to day 2. I see a lot of calmness, a lot of Cadbury trying really, really hard and accepting Joe up on his back, taking those cookies, here doing some nice trotting. And Joe isn't pushing him into a canter here. He's purposely just doing walk trot, helping Cadbury just kind of feel the saddle in a slower way, like not pushing him right up into that saddle and kind of backing off there. So you can see he got Cadbury to go, and he just backs up to draw him to him. And overall, Cadbury doing so much better with that saddle. And here you can see Cadbury just kind of comes over to wrap up their session, and Joe just kind of goes slowly and chill. Overall, the energy stays really, really calm. You can see Cadbury kind of backs up a little bit quickly there. Could be that he's thinking like, what are you going to do with this saddle? What are you going to do with this girth? Because it's all new and different territory of things that he's learning how to accomplish and learning to accept that piece. And it's such a hard thing for prey animals, for wild horses, and some more than others, to accept something wrapping around their belly, because they definitely can perceive that as being a predator pouncing on them, going after them. And so for Cadbury, it's his hardest thing. All of his other things have been relatively easy, maybe not as confident on the left side, but not horrible. Like generally he's been pretty great at experiencing new things, like the trailer loading went really well for the first time, and working with the pool noodles, the flag. Like he's had a lot of great accomplishments, but the girth has been the ongoing one for him that's a little bit of a struggle. So here Joe takes off the saddle, and they end up finishing this session on a really good note, and pretty exciting to see how this heads into day 3 for what's going to come next. But let me know what's been your favorite part so far, and thank you for watching.
Remember to subscribe and check out harmonyhorsemanship.com for even more learning.